In this video, I'm going to be talking about and taking a look at some of the major updates to up-and-coming mods to Fallout 4 that were released over the past few weeks. One of the big ones and one of the real showcases in this video is going to be around Fallout Miami, a very popular and well-known mod, basically bringing post-apocalyptic Miami in a fan-made DLC to Fallout 4. We haven't heard too much about them over the past couple of months, and I'll explain why in this video and also show you some of the awesome things they've been working on, including some actual gameplay footage of the mod. If you guys enjoy the content or want to keep up to date with some of the up-and-coming or work-in-progress mods for Fallout 4, Skyrim, or even Fallout New Vegas, you can subscribe. But first, taking a look at Fallout Miami, some of you guys might be like, hey, have I missed something or have they been relatively quiet lately? The answer to that is yes, with the reason being that Fallout Miami has switched from monthly updates to seasonal updates. In their first seasonal update, that was spring 2019, they explained this, basically saying how they've actually progressed quite far in the development cycle. There's not as much concept art or pretty things to show, but rather coding and the more technical side is currently being focused on, which naturally doesn't have a lot of pretty pictures to display to us. So they are still working on it, it's just now you'll see periodic or seasonal updates and not monthly ones, and I honestly kind of prefer this format because they share a lot in this update. One of the first things they share is actually a song from their original soundtrack. This mod's going to come with something known as the Vacation Wastelands Radio. This is one of those songs you'll be able to hear from that. They posted a lot of their original soundtrack on their channel that I will have linked to down below. They also show off these masks that are pretty cool. Basically, one of the major factions in this new mod is going to be the Dreamers. These are really focused characters, and some of the notable members of the Dreamers are going to be wearing these old school Halloween masks. In the Fallout lore, the bombs dropped in October, so a lot of the Halloween decorations were already set up, and that's why you kind of find this stuff everywhere. Although outside of the Dreamers, that's one of the more minor factions. We also do hear a bit about one of the major ones, that with the Nuclear Patriots. They discuss how they're trying to finalize and complete his look, and the image you're seeing here is actually concept art of Axel Slate, the leader of the Nuclear Patriots. He's described as someone who will speak plainly and isn't afraid to throw punches, and rules the Nuclear Patriots with two main ideals, that with strength and freedom. And this guy definitely looks pretty cool. They also hint how there's going to be some larger things coming later, and even a new video coming later, perhaps in the next seasonal update. But I think the aesthetic they have with this one, especially if we see some custom armors featuring those license plates, since the Nuclear Patriots are biker gang-esque, having some kind of crazy and tricked out vehicles, would be pretty cool. It's a nice twist on the otherwise familiar Raider aesthetic that it seems to be somewhat based off of. Although outside of new factions, we also do hear more about the Enclave and their presence in Fallout Miami. They show off some of the power armor that will be used and they'll be wearing as you do encounter them, but also a bit of backstory and justification for the Enclave being there. They describe how back in 2230 there was initially Operation Minerva, and I'm almost certainly butchering that pronunciation. The Enclave from the Capital Wastelands had a team that were trying to recover a high-value pre-war military asset that was located in Miami. The team was never heard from again, so Operation Minerva 2 happened, and that's where the Enclave actually established themselves in the area. All they really found as far as what happened to the first team was some of their leftover power armor. That's what you're seeing here, and that's the basis for their presence in this wasteland. I imagine this will be fleshed out a lot more and have backstory as to what they were looking for, what that asset actually was, and I think it'll be an interesting way to incorporate them. Next in this update, they actually do make an announcement around the mod, that is that it's going to feature a silent protagonist. Unlike some of the other mods for Fallout 4 that are DLC sized or overhaul in nature, this is actually meant to be a real DLC. You're going to take your existing Fallout 4 character and actually go to the Vacation Wasteland, or Miami. It's written as if the person exploring is the same sole survivor, Nate or Nora. Fallout Miami, lacking the ability to get the same voice actor to revoice all of the lines, they found it pretty limiting to have to just use the ones already existing in base game Fallout 4. So to open up more opportunities, they're going with a silent protagonist despite him being voiced in regular Fallout 4. Even further, they describe how they're going to be using the extended dialogue interface. It's a very well-known mod, you've probably seen this before. Although since that mod requires Fallout 4 script extender, Fallout Miami overall will also require Fallout 4 script extender. Nothing super crazy here. I think a lot of people, myself included, will actually be pretty happy at this news. Although yeah, having the voice protagonist would be nice for continuity reasons. The extra options you get just as far as dialogue goes from not having the voiced from the protagonist is a lot nicer. And to be clear, that's just for the sole survivor. driver for your player character. Other NPCs will still have voice acting associated with them and will talk back to you. They describe and actually show how Miami will have various billboards all over it from some of that pre-war advertising. Even further, they're actually going to have some of these billboards that were kind of tampered with or edited as a result of people living in the area and, well, making them maybe a little bit more realistic. One of the things they're adding to the lore with Fallout Miami is the fact that the United States liberated Cuba, and how that's relevant now is they actually describe how there's going to be a museum in Fallout Miami that commemorates this event, and you'll find this custom power armor paint job in said museum, and just outside of that museum will be this Cuban Liberation Memorial. It looks pretty cool, and I'm excited to see what other kind of maybe rare or unique items, potentially things we've already seen in the past that we'll also find in that museum. And even though that sounds small or minor, I feel like it's little details like that will really make this feel like a fleshed out and lived in world. Like it has a history, it has a culture, things happened here. And overall with this mod, I've been seeing a lot of that gets me extra excited for it. Gambling will have a presence in Fallout Miami. We'll see some of the custom roulette tables here. They mentioned how there'll be other tables even outside of just this one, and even how one of the more elite hotels will actually have its own custom table with its own branding on it, and I just like that. It's a little attention to detail that will go a long way in game. And it seems like they confirmed that these will be at least somewhat functional. As they mentioned, VIP customers of Sunshine Cove, that being the hotel, can still enjoy losing their money at these tables more than 200 years later. Gambling is something that was really fun in Fallout New Vegas. It was kind of minor and something just to pass the time, but I enjoyed it, and I'd love to see more of that with Fallout Miami, especially because seemingly we'll get new and custom mini games from this, such as roulette. As far as new NPCs and creatures go, we also do have the Lifeguard Protectron that's kind of gonna do what you expect. You'll find them roaming on some of the beaches, and I just think that looks funny. A great piece of world building I'm sure they'll create. But even outside of that, we get additional looks at the Snapjaw, which is one of the coolest things I've seen thus far as a work in progress from this mod. Again, we've seen these before, it's a new type of creature, but here they actually show off 4 of the various variants. Here you see, of course, the glowing and albino types. But what to me is even cooler, we also get a look at the Alpha and Mythic Snapjaws. These are terrifying. I'm extremely excited to see these in game with some actual gameplay associated with them. We see some concept art of what's going to be known as the Green. This was an old golf course, but now obviously it is mutated, and well, there's going to be some pretty crazy and interesting plants here. It seems like this will be one of the higher level areas of this, and it's where you could find those Alpha and Mythic Snapjaws. And it's actually described how in the lore of this place, it won't just be irradiated like this from the bombs dropping, but also from dumping of local companies, which is a cool little twist. It'll hopefully lead to some more interesting and transformative mutations here. We also get a look at some work in progress animations for the SMG coming with this mod. We've seen images of this before, but although these are work in progress animations, they look really good, and I'm excited to get my hands on this one. It'd be cool to see this as a standalone mod release for Fallout 4, something Fallout Miami has done in the past. And then last but not least, we do have that new 3 minutes of exploration. I will have a link to this down below if you want to watch it in its entirety. I've been showing it periodically throughout this video, but it looks awesome. They do emphasize how this is very work in progress. A lot of it is subject to change, but just seeing some of these environments, they have such a distinctive and unique feel, I think, compared to most of the other modern Fallout games. It really looks and it seems like it'll feel like a very different place. But speaking of landscapes, we actually have a small update on the playable world space from one of the older variants of Fallout Miami. I talked about this in a recent video. I'll have a little link in the eye if you want to see a more complete look at it, but basically one of the original people behind Fallout Miami had some of the older world space. He took a step away from the project, but did release this OG world space because most of it won't actually end up being part of the final version. There's not really much going on here, you could just explore it, but he did mention how he might add certain updates to this. And he is now working on the level of detail, so basically as you see things from afar, they'll look worse and slowly get better quality, where right now things just kind of pop in. But taking a step away from Fallout Miami, we also can take a look at the Colt Rangemaster. This is another new weapon mod coming to Fallout 4, and this one looks particularly cool. This was actually the hunting rifle from Fallout 1, 2, and Tactics, so it might look familiar to some of you. Either way, it looks cool. Like it'll be a fun and interesting addition nonetheless, and I really love how modders a lot of times now are actually taking some of those old school weapons, armors, or whatever it be, and recreating them with higher fidelity in Fallout 4. Which, speaking of, we also get a look at some updates coming to the China Lake and Holorifle. This is an already existing mod that is actually getting improved improvements to it. If you're not familiar, the Holorifle was in some of the older Fallouts as a laser, but it kind of uses the China Lake, which is a grenade launcher, as a base. This mod actually adds in both of them as two separate weapon systems. You can see from some of these screenshots, it definitely looks quite a bit better than the currently released version. The textures and just overall quality of this is quite a bit higher, and I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see what kind of new features we might get with it, and just in general, it's one of my all-time favorite mods for Fallout, so getting a better version of it is obviously a plus. Not too long ago, I did cover the Minerva Armory mod for Fallout 4, adding in a variety of Halo weapons into the game, and we're actually getting more from the same mod author, but this one will be releasing as a standalone, not part of the larger pack. We do have the MA37 ICWS. So what this actually is an updated version of the typical Halo assault rifle. This one was actually present in Halo Reach, and as you can see from this mod, it looks pretty cool. It's described as being pretty similar feature-wise to everything we see from Minerva Armory, which is a good thing, but actually having a greater focus on attachments than some of the items in that pack do. And as you can see from this, it looks pretty awesome. You definitely can see some of the attachments that are already implemented. This will be reusing the animations of the other AR, but that's okay considering they basically function the exact same way anyway. All around, it looks good. Hopefully not too long of a wait on this one. But switching from futuristic to actually old school, we also do have the REM92 lever action shotgun. So technically, this is actually a fictional gun. It is made specifically for Fallout and actually sporting the Remington branding, and well, it just looks cool. Pump action shotguns are awesome, but we have very few lever action custom made weapons for this game, and I like the look of this one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun when we get it. And it's also described how this one is actually fairly close to release, so that wait might not even be that long. But yeah, otherwise, taking it all together, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for some of the new Fallout 4 mods that are on the way. Hopefully you guys found this video informative. Hopefully you're excited for some of these up and coming releases. Some of these are definitely fairly far out, like Fallout Miami, but some of the other stuff might only be a few weeks or months away, and the wait won't be that bad. A lot of really cool stuff is coming to Fallout 4, and it's a lot of stuff to look forward to. Although before I end things off, I do want to do one psychology fun fact of the day, and this is actually going to be on something that is relevant to literally all of you. Every single person watching this video does this thing. Well, or at least theoretically you do, because it's not exactly proven, just highly likely based on studies. More or less what I'm talking about is the constructive process theory of human memory. So the way your memory works, or the way most people think your memory works, is actually by constructing memories, and specifically reconstructing memories. So when an event happens right away, you do create a memory of that. You go through processing, encoding, and then eventual retrieval later on when you're thinking about that event. Most people tend to think that's really it. That's how your memory will work. You're just replaying that video of what happened and what you originally encoded. While in reality, and according to the constructive process theory, that's not at all how it works. But rather, since your brain is smart, when you actually do have this original memory, it'll fill in some of the blanks with additional information. It'll reconstruct that memory over and over again. So let's say you witness a car accident. At one point, you will just have the memory of that raw car accident. But let's say after the fact, you do talk to some people, get additional details, your brain will automatically fill in some of those blanks. Your memory is being reconstructed with the additional details. Now, sometimes this can be adaptive, and honestly, most of the time, it's just a helpful thing that your brain does. But this also could lead to some pretty significant problems when trying to remember things accurately, as you could get misleading information. It's why you might get 7 different stories from one event, even though technically everyone saw something that was kind of the same. One of the interesting parts of this phenomena in action is actually from really early on memories. So like, try and think about one of your earliest memories, something that you're probably very young and didn't really know what was going on. For a lot of people, what's actually probably going on here is maybe you do have one base or source memory, or maybe you actually saw a picture of that event, but typically a lot of these early on memories are super heavily influenced by people telling stories about you, whereby you may be having one base memory, then seeing additional pictures of that, then hearing your mom tell a story of what happened that day, and you fill out all of the blanks, making that memory more complex, while in reality the original version might have been very simple and very different than what you think about now. Because as you're a little kid, you're encoding on your level of understanding. So if you're not actually able to talk, you'll still form memories, but they're not going to be described or as accurate and informative as your modern memories. That's why a lot of people don't actually have super young memories. You're just not understanding things with as great as detail. So yeah, your memory is an interesting thing, and sometimes people don't realize that, and it can be pretty dangerous. Either way, as always, again, I thank you for watching. Hopefully you found this video informative, but with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.